Thank you, Bully. Yo, lost. Great feeling. Not really, but having to follow Johnny, I mean, during the year, you always want to see Johnny in your group. When you see Johnny before you at Mac Live, less so. But thank you, it was great, Johnny. So I would like to welcome you to the light bulb moment. So to begin, I want to ask you guys to really focus on 4 things and really think about what these 4 things have in common throughout what I'm going to talk about today. So, what does a toddler, Thomas Edison, AI, and Master Yoda have in common? Say it again for you. A toddler, Thomas Edison, AI, and Master Yoda. It'll become clearer as I go through. So by show of hands, who in this room has failed throughout their life? Okay, most people put up their hands. If you didn't, you're failing at that question as well, because you've been failing since you were born. I actually have a PhD in failing. I started to fail at a ripe old age of a couple of months, because I failed one of the integral stages of development. I didn't crawl. Not because my parents didn't try and get me to. I mean, they put me on my stomach, tried to prop me up, but it was just, nah. I used to sit back on my ass and drag myself along. And then when I got tired, I just used to start screaming and wait for someone to pick me up. But my parents were told I would suffer a deficit because I didn't crawl. I'd missed a key stage in my development. Joke was on them, because the only deficit was that I could talk before I could walk, and I haven't shut up since. My 2 parents just sitting over there can tell you that they have PhDs in listening. So this one's for the parents in the room. I have a question for you by show of hands. Everyone here watch their children take their first steps or try to? Again, anybody who didn't put up their hands, we could chalk that up to failure as well. But most of all, through the internet, YouTube, or cute memes, we've all watched how babies learn to walk, right? And what's hilarious is that they fall on their hands, their ass, their feet, like they face plant, dude. And then there's this weird phenomenon. They get back up. This is the first stage of development we go through. We need to learn how to walk. But a baby can fail 1,000,000 times, 10,000 times, and do you know what it doesn't do? It doesn't give up. The end result is that it needs to walk. We also need to learn how to talk, we need to learn how to feed ourselves, so we literally go through stages of failure. These failures are pathways to success. The only way that we can really catapult ourselves forward throughout our adult lives is to fail again, and learn some more. So why is it that babies don't give up? That's mainly because they only make use of their reptilian brain. They have no conscious mind. The I suck mentality or give up mentality or this is pointless, you're going to fail and fail again, it doesn't exist yet because there is no conscious mind. What this looks like is your brain. So we start off with our reptilian brain, then we develop our emotional brain, and throughout our adult lives we continue to develop our rational brain. But the reptilian brain is the brain center that is basically most aimed and geared at keeping us alive. It's about, basically, it's just instinctual. This is what you need in order to survive throughout your life. And what we can learn from it is that we need to fail again, and fail some more. This is the only way that we are going to move forward throughout our lives. So thinking about all of this failure, I went on to kind of think about the greatest failures of our time. So failure is ingrained in us from birth. I decided to look literally at the people who have done it best throughout their entire lives. Einstein failed maths. Van Gogh failed to sell 1 painting while he was alive. Michael Jordan failed 9,000 shots in his career. It's the greatest basketball player of time. Quite an interesting thought. So this brought me to my favorite failure of all time, Thomas Edison. So the most interesting thing to note about Thomas Edison is he was fired from his first 2 jobs for being unproductive and unimaginative. Can you imagine being the person who fired Thomas Edison? So then he went on, of course, to fail 10,000 times when he was creating the light bulb. So can you imagine what he must have thought at 8,552? Man, I suck. This is why I have no friends. This is why I'm going to die alone. He very much had a conscious mind. But he didn't give up. He somehow engaged that reptilian, childlike tenacity, and he kept on going. When he did finally attempt 10,000, land the invention, and he was asked, how does it feel failing 10,000 times? His answer was, I didn't fail. I created 10,000 process to creating a light bulb. So there's something about his tenacious attitude towards failure that created a pathway to success. Which leads me to the next point. There's a missing link. So if children and their reptile brain don't give up, and if some of the greatest minds in our entire existence knew that failure was a pathway to success, then there must be a missing link between some of us sitting here today and the greatest minds that are and were alive. So my next natural path to follow was, of course, the pathways to failure. So let me introduce you to brain A. This is happy neural pathway. You can see that this brain is lit up in the areas that are red, yellow, and orange. It's a happy neuron. This is a highly positive, high-functioning person, not swept up in disappointment or becoming discouraged. They are literally, the neurons are firing at such a high active rate that they are succeeding. Now allow me to introduce you to the I suck brain. This is a brain that's completely consumed by failure, completely consumed by their conscious minds. They've literally told themselves, give up, I cannot pass, I cannot succeed, therefore why should I try? But if you look at the brain in its complex form, it looks a lot like source code, which leads me to artificial intelligence. Have you ever asked yourself who created the internet? Who created AI? Who programmed source code? What's bigger than that? Do you know that we actually, when we create source codes for programs, we basically write in glitch protocol. That means that we know a program is going to fail. So we write in a protocol where we can send a report to the creator to say, hey, this is what I need to do to optimize, upgrade. It's really weird, right? We create the idea in a machine or program, yet we can't write that into our own thinking. So we literally end up with I suck mentality instead of, hey, a reboot mentality. So at this point, have you all been thinking about the 4 things across? Right, is the thread starting to become a little clearer to you about what the first 3 have in common? You're probably wondering, now what the hell can we learn from a Jedi Master? Show of hands, who loves Star Wars in this room? Show of hands, who has no idea what a Jedi Master is? Okay, to simplify for you, shocking! Man, I knew that was going to bomb out. Okay, a Jedi Master is just basically a teacher on steroids. So, it's Diane Peter. They teach their little Padawans the greatest lessons that they need to learn. And literally how I came across my topic for this talk was I was watching The Last Jedi, and Luke Skywalker and Yoda are getting into it. Won't explain it because some of you won't understand. But there's something that hit me. Yoda says to Luke, pass on what you have learned. Strength, mastery, but weakness, folly, failure also. Yes, failure most of all. It's a very bad Yoda interpretation, but I tried. Failure most of all. So guess what happened next? Ding! I had my light bulb moment. Failure is the greatest teacher of all time. Imagine a world where if we spoke about the greatest failures instead of the greatest successes. Imagine if we taught children that failure was okay. In fact, fail small, fail again, because you need to fail quicker and faster in order to catapult yourself forward. How do you propel an arrow forward? You've got to pull it back. It's part of physics, nature, science. It's part of us. We know this. So for some of you, which you don't know, but my classmates do, I'm 34 years old, so that's right, I'm a decade older than most of my class. I walked away from a 10-year career I had built. What I didn't realize is that, what I failed to do while I was building a career is realize that I was good at something, but it was destroying me. And then I walked out of a high-paying job, and I failed to realize I was going to end up unemployed for 2 years. And boy, oh boy, did I then have a huge I suck brain. I did nothing. So consumed by failure, I didn't move forward and literally just went like neural brain shut down. I have failed so many times to get to this point today, to stand in front of you and to share this experience and knowledge with you. Although I'm not really proud of myself for some of the mistakes and the failures I've made, they are very much a part of me and I wouldn't change it for anything. When I started the year, I didn't really know where I was going to end up, and I'm very proud to say that after my 2 weeks internship, I'm employed as of Monday. And the company that I'm going to start with is one of the key integral values is fail fast. If that isn't a sign from the beyond, I don't know. So embracing failure is the greatest success. So to my fellow Mackies, and to everyone sitting in this room, I have a thought to end off Mac Live 2018. What are your next 10 failures, mistakes? And bigger than that, what are you going to do with them? We out.